A very good evening to you, Jamaicans, and to whether you're at home or you're in the diaspora. Tonight, in this deep dive on the Deep Dive TV, we want to just talk to you in very simple terms. I am looking you straight in your eyes, and I want you to look at me as I talk to you. I want to present to you some facts. There are two political parties vying for your vote come election time. I don't know when the Prime Minister is going to call elections, but being that as it may, elections are constitutionally due by September of this year, 2025. And so, my fellow Jamaicans, I want to bring to your attention something that is critical. It is critical because when we don't have it, we can't feel safe and nothing can progress in our country unless we want to see our country continue down the path that the PNP had taken our country on during the 18 and a half years of unbroken time in office. And this is the issue of crime. Now, recently, the leader of the PNP, Mark, gave a whole budget presentation. And in it, he did not have much to say about the progress that has been made in crime fighting. Why is it, I ask, and you should ask, that the leader of a political party has nothing positive to say about how he's going to attack this seminal issue that is affecting our country, which is the issue of crime? It is an existential crisis, And this leader don't care about it. My fellow Jamaicans, let me explain to you. If crime is rampant in a society and people do not feel safe in their homes, in their workplaces, as they go about their legitimate and lawful businesses, we don't have a society. It cannot work. So the number one issue for any society is its security from as far back as medieval times. Leaders built all kinds of fortification to provide security to their people. And internally, they had rigid systems. One of the things we like to talk about as Jamaicans is the tiny, tiny country, Asian country of Singapore. And we love to talk about the progress of Singapore. We pull up images of Singapore and we look at the towering skyscrapers and we see how well they're doing economically. We like to say they adapted our economic model. My fellow Jamaicans, you know this is true. But what we never talk about are the things that they did before they instituted that economic model. They adopted a set of legal frameworks under which the Singaporean people had to operate and within which they had to exist. Laws that were intolerant of criminal behavior. One of the things that we have not been able to get the People's National Party in Jamaica to understand is the importance of the rule of law. In fact, the People's National Party is running a twice convicted drug mule to sit in the sacred halls of our parliament as a member of parliament. So they have not figured out that we need to eschew criminality. We need to send a clear message of intolerance to criminals, because the PNP has consistently continued along a path that is anti-police and pro-criminals. The People's National Party, because it sees playing the "we love you, poor people" and giving poor people the impression that lawlessness is their birthright and they have a right to lawlessness. In order to win their votes, they've decided that to hell with everything else. Let the country burn so they can govern over the ashes. I want to play for you a short segment of a speech, of an interview Mark Golding gave to one of the local networks. On this program, I don't name networks on my program. So I want to just give you a little snippet of what he said. I'm going to stop talking and you will hear Mark Golding talking about the ZOSOs and the SOEs. There was nothing in Mark Golding's interview that spoke to the importance of him as a political leader, throwing his support behind the police and the military's effort to root out these gangs, these existential gangs operating in our country. There was no air of urgency, no degree of placing this existential crisis on the front burner. Because for the PNP, criminality, high criminality, violent crime has been something that they love. They've never come out and supported the police. They support anti-police agencies like Jamaicans for Justice. Those are the things they support because they don't give a shit about the Jamaican people. What they care about is winning votes so they can govern over the ashes. That's been the modus operandi. That's been in the DNA of the People's National Party. And I'll ask you to listen to this interview.
Association who expressed a great disappointment that the opposition had not voted to support. Doesn't the level of disapproval and disagreement with the opposition's position bother you?
We would like for the business community to see it our way, but they have been consistent in supporting states of emergency over the last few years.
Just for the record, the entire business community supports the present government's position as it relates to crime. Your humble servant, who has been a avid writer for over 15 years, have a history. Go to mikebeckles.com. Do that now. And look, we have a history of talking about the issues, and talking about the failings and the imperfections of ZOSOs, talking about the failings and the imperfections of SOEs. Notwithstanding, we cannot throw those tools out. They are tools that belongs in the toolbox. We cannot just say, pretend like Mark Golding and his cohorts within the People's National Party, that they are just going to ignore everything. The proliferation, the mass proliferation of gangs in our country that is hampering the progress of our country, because no nation can thrive in an environment of violent gangs, extorting, murdering, raping, pillaging, sowing fear and intimidation in the society. But the PNP has never cared about that. They have never cared about that because, as I said earlier, they want everything burned down so they could govern over the ashes. That's the history. That's the modus operandi of the People's National Party. That's what they want to bring Jamaica back to. Run with it. No policing. They don't care about the police. They join with forces against the police. The People's National Party does. They don't care about the rule of law.
Our position is that we don't support it for a number of reasons. First of all, we feel that there's a strong argument that it is unconstitutional. There have been 2 cases in which the courts have ruled against it in a variety. One tackling the regulate.
He's talking about the courts rule against it.
the highest court, on the highest court sits Brian Sykes, who is a PNP activist. That's the court they're talking about. And even though I have written extensively arguing for a new constitution, and putting us on the path to becoming a republic, for Christ's sake, little Barbados is a republic. Severed ties. And I thought in my humble opinion, that the last Caribbean island that would opt to become a republic, opt to separate itself from the British monarchy, would have been Barbados. I was wrong. I was wrong. And I have written that Barbados probably would be the last Caribbean island to separate itself from Britain. But I was wrong, and I apologize to my readers for that. I do. But they did. And though I advocate for a new constitution for our nation, though I advocate for separation from the British colonial masters, I am still guided by the fear of the Caribbean Court of Justice becoming our last court of appeals, or the Jamaican Appellate Court becoming the last court of appeals. And I think that's where the Jamaica Labour Party is, because of the indoctrination of those judges who sit on the Jamaican Court of Appeals and on the Caribbean Court of Justice. They're all basically come from the same dirty pool of the Norman Manley Law School. And so they can easily be influenced. Decisions can easily be influenced. That comes before them. Who would want Brian Sykes deciding a matter of constitutional importance? Who? Nobody but the PNP.
Themselves, the other more broadly questioning the use of it in the way that the government's been using it as a kind of routine crime-fighting tool. And the truth of the matter is that despite its regular use over the last 5 or so years, the rate of murders in Jamaica has continued to spiral. And we feel it is really not an effective strategy because it focuses on detention rather than investigation and prosecution. The security forces, the leadership there have indicated.
Okay, let me just stop this fool right here. I'm sorry. First of all, let me explain something to you guys. And I'm being very frank with you. These are factual statements, not hyperbolic statements. The leader of the People's National Party is saying that the Jamaica Labour Party's problem, the processes that they're using, are to detain known crime producers. That's what he just said. Now, if you remove them from the street, how are they going to commit crimes? They can't. But let's set that aside. Let us set all of that aside. He said that they should proceed along a path of intelligence gathering and, well, he didn't say intelligence, but an internal investigation. Let me just help him out here as a former detective. How is it? This Labour Party has been in power for 9 years now, and they've done a tremendous job. This is an older interview, but they've done a terrific job of upgrading police stations, training police officers, equipping the police. Terrific job. Not nearly enough as it pertains to training and other areas, but they've tried. I mean, given the limited resources that the nation has to put towards that endeavor. But the PNP was in power for 18 and a half years, and for an entire decade, they did not train a single goddamn detective. So if they didn't train any investigators, where was the money to come from? Where was the expertise to come from? I'm sorry. Where was the expertise to come from? To investigate. Where is that investigative capability supposed to come from? When they were in power and they did not see fit to do anything about upgrading and improving the capabilities of the force. They did not, because they didn't want to. And they never did, because a competent Jamaica constabulary force would be able to lock their sorry asses up in prison for their crimes. So it was not of importance to them.
300 known persons who are extremely violent, they call them violence producers, that are really the targets. But you can't be taking away the rights of 1 million to 2 million people to tackle the task of getting those 300 people, or whatever that number is, off the streets.
I know you have a proposal for that, and I'm going to come to that in just a moment. But before you leave the SOEs, Gordon Robinson, writing in the Glean on Sunday, said he agreed with your position that the states of emergency provisions are not to be used as a crime-fighting tool, but he said, what I find pathetic is that the opposition has been belly aching about this aspect of the abuse of SOEs for years, but has never sought to litigate the issue as it did with NIDS. As viewers probably know, the opposition went to court over the NIDS bill and it was declared unconstitutional. Gordon Robinson says for the umpteenth time, Mark Golding told MPs that the PNP had an opinion from eminent counsel lawyer on this since 2017.
2019.
Thank you. So why not sue? Why not clear this up once and for all?
Well, proceeding.
I'm sorry. I didn't end this. That's where it ended. It's kind of weird how it ended, right? Seriously. It's kind of weird how it ended. I'm sorry. I did not end it like that. I did not. That's where the interview ended. As far as I know, that's all that they had. That's all I had to bring to your attention. They did not litigate it because they know it was a losing issue for them. That's why they did not litigate it. Okay? The idea that the law enforcement agencies are using certain tools in their toolbox would be unconstitutional, and that's your big issue. And I'm not saying that we should be embarking on unconstitutional issues. All I'm saying is, why is the leader of the PNP and the People's National Party so focused on the rights of criminals? And the idea that the police would take measures to protect the 3 million people and may cause them a little bit of discomfort. Isn't it a really small price to pay for your security? Isn't it? So even this guy, Gordon Robinson, who is clearly a PNP acolyte, he's still skeptical in his writings. And of course, Mark Golding has really no answer for it. None. Because the People's National Party, let me say this again, the People's National Party has never been a party that cares about the safety and security of Jamaicans. The People's National Party has been solely focused throughout its history. Go look it up. We live in the age of small, smart devices now. Smartphones, tablets, laptop computers, desktop computers. Go search it. Do a simple Google search. The People's National Party has never really cared about security. The People's National Party has never cared about the safety of Jamaicans. The People's National Party has continued to block every progress in our country as it relates to ending the scourge of violence. The People's National Party maintains an 11-to-1 ratio of garrisons which are filled with gangsters as against the other political party. Irrefutable facts. When are the Jamaican people going to open their eyes and say to the People's National Party, we do not want what you're selling. People, it's up to you. This has been the deep dive. I'll see you tomorrow.